I'm Makini Smith. In 2009, while going through a divorce, I decided to jump straight into entrepreneurship. In 2012, I lost my sister and asked myself, what legacy do I want to leave behind? Since then, I've become a serial entrepreneur, helping other women publish their books, produce their podcasts, and reach their big goals to walk in their greatness. I realized the importance of sharing our stories of resilience and how it can be another's guide to walk in a manner worthy of their calling. We are blessed to be a blessing, so get ready to be blessed with an inspiring testimony. Hey, Legacy Leavers. Thank you for joining us on the Walk in My Stilettos podcast, where we have conversations with amazing women that are letting us step into their shoes. I help women to own their voice so they can create impact, prosperity, and legacy. I get inspired when I see another woman succeeding, but what interests me more is her backstory and her mindset on how she got there. So today's guest is about to bless us with her testimony, and since you're already here, you may as well subscribe. Today we have Rachel Roff. She is the founder and the CEO of Urban Skin RX, a clinical skincare brand for diverse skin tones. An established licensed esthetician, Rachel is a game changer in the beauty space and prides herself on bringing inclusivity to the clinical skincare industry. Rachel's journey began in 2006 when she founded Urban Skin Solutions Medical Spa in Charlotte, North Carolina. And after treating thousands of clients for common skincare conditions related to melanin-rich skin, Rachel founded Urban Skin RX skincare line in 2010 and has continued to grow a notable roster of high caliber celebrity clientele like Teyana Taylor, Fantasia, Tasha Cobbs. And Rachel and her products have been seen in Forbes, Essence, InStyle and WWD, and more. So please welcome to the show, Rachel.
Hey, how are you doing?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on and share your story with us.
Thank you. You have an amazing voice. I feel like I'm on NPR or something. It's like very soothing, but like authoritative and smart.
Thank you. Thank you. That I will take that compliment deeply because I am definitely someone who has struggled to, I'm going to say, own my voice. And that is why I started this podcast. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Before we even jump into any of the questions, I just want to say congratulations on your engagement.
Thank you so much. Yeah, surreal. Didn't think I would ever get married based on my relationship history. So it's very exciting to, be in a healthy, new, exciting place with that.
Awesome. Awesome. I absolutely love that. I'm a lover of love. So when I saw that on your Instagram, I was like, I just need to make sure that I congratulate her on that because I am cheering from the sidelines.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. It definitely has taken a lot of healthy, strong, independent, powerful women around me to, help me with my journey and my standards and, realizing that not all men, are terrible and you attract how you feel about yourself and what you put out is what you get. So definitely thank you.
I absolutely get it. Been there, done that, but the show is not about me. So let's jump into digging in to get to know you on a deeper level. I would love to know, before we get started, to where you are presently. I would love to know, Rachel, what did you want to be when you were a little girl? What was your childhood dreams?
I think, prior to high school, I think it changed a few different times. I remember wanting to be a lawyer for a long time, then a hairdresser, even at times a social worker. But it always had a common theme of wanting to help people, look better, feel better, improve the quality of their life, give them some type of justice if they weren't being treated fairly. I went through a lot with bullying at a very young age. So I think I wanted from a young age to do something where I could help others, put them in a position where they felt better about themselves, or that I could help them be treated fairly in some type of way. So there was like this, it sounds weird, but to be like, oh, I want to be a criminal defense lawyer, but I also want to be a hairdresser. And it's the career I ended up in, I think, was that middle ground, being one of the first brands to bring more inclusivity to a skincare industry that had, severe disparities as it comes to, offering safe, effective, treatments as well as products for all skin tones, specifically deeper skin tones. I think is kind of like that middle ground where I'm doing something to fix an injustice while also helping people improve their confidence from the outside inside.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so walk us through that journey of how you went from what you wanted to be as a little girl to how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it as short as possible. But I, at a young age, developed a nevus mole on the side of my mouth, which was part of the intense bullying I went through. Looked like a big brown, kind of puffed out black mark on my face. And and then I also had to be watched for precancerous cells that were growing in it. So because of the place that was on my mouth, they couldn't just cut it out without completely distorting my mouth and my, mouth structure in terms of how I smiled, I talked. And so they started with trying to laser it off. And so I would go to UCSF, San Francisco Medical Center, and was almost like a test patient for this ruby laser. And it was a ablative laser, meaning that, it would burn the skin. And so I think through all of junior high, I had to have a Band-Aid on the side of my mouth because I was going back and forth for treatments every 3 or 4 weeks, and it would bubble up and crust over, and say the least, it failed. And then eventually I ended up getting the majority of it cut out by a plastic surgeon. But I think that experience, and then at the same time started developing acne. So I was around a lot of cosmetic dermatologists who, at this time I was living in California where I grew up. They did have estheticians and medical spas. This is 25 years ago, and where California was really ahead of most of the country in terms of cosmetic skincare. And I was like, this is amazing. And I was, get different facial products for acne from my esthetician at the derm's office. And I'd get these medical facials, and I'd had these experience with these lasers. And I just always loved it because it gave so much more results than just a regular facial. And so pretty much in high school, I started to think that one day I wanted to own a medical spa and become an esthetician. And down to the point of, I remember the colors. I'm a very visual person. I would picture the way this beautifully decorated med spa would look. And fast forward to when I opened Urban Skin Solutions in 2006, I picked out those same paint colors. That's why I
love it.
Vision boards really work. Even to this day, as a very stressed out CEO and entrepreneur that oftentimes, feel the weight and responsibility of the world on my shoulders and so much pressure, I have this dream house that I'm envisioning in my mind, down to heated floors and a fireplace in my closet and a champagne refrigerator in my dressing room. All this stuff really gets me through my hard days. I'm like, I'm going to get there, make this happen and get there. But, at that point, it was never with a focus on any specific skin tone or ethnicity. I grew up in a pretty diverse, inclusive, liberal family, lots of interracial dating, and we were Jewish and we were Democrat. And we were a family that I think had really good principles. And, but at the same time, I just was probably naive as well as not being a woman of color and not realizing how, racism really was in every single facet of life, even as something like skincare, and aesthetics. And so at that point in time, I was naive, just thinking, I'll just open this med spa and whoever walks in the door, walks in the door. And then I ended up moving to Charlotte to finish college because going to college was important to my parents. And right after college, I went to esthetician school. And there was kind of my first experience of realizing that there was, a lot of missing education and focus on the needs of deeper skin tones. It was really geared towards primarily the needs of lighter skin tones, like specifically like aging, which is more prominent in lighter skin tones. But when it came to working on models or, talking about issues that were more common in deeper skin tones, they really glossed over it, or it'd say, deeper skin tone burns so easy or it's so sensitive. Like, we recommend just doing these very basic treatments. And I'm like, but that's not going to solve the problem. Like, if we just throw cream cleanser on it, you can't fade dark marks. You can't get rid of acne. And so, I'm like, I know there's African-American dermatologists, like they have to know more than this. And so I started really educating myself on my own. I would order dermatology books for skin of color while I was in esthetician school, because at that point in time, it wasn't really about, offering these services for the world. It was about servicing my friends and family that I love that were saying, you're becoming an esthetician. Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And I would go to my teachers and they wouldn't provide a lot of input for me. And then it continued to the theme of that just got stronger and stronger as I went, further. And I'll never forget my first job. I was hired by a chiropractor and his wife who decided to open a med spa because they thought it was going to be easy money. And they bought this $100,000 laser. They had no marketing budget. They put it in an office park. So you had no signage on a main road. And I was working on commission. So I'm sitting there every day, not seeing anybody. And by chance, I had learned that the laser that they had bought was one of the few lasers on the market that was safe for all skin tones to do laser hair removal on. And I don't even think they knew that when they bought it. And so I did some treatments on my friends with deeper skin tones. And then a couple of my guy friends who had really bad ingrown hairs on their neck, I did laser hair removal on their beard area. And the results were amazing. And I just remember one night being like, gosh, I would love to spread the word about how well this works for, Black men and women dealing with ingrown hairs, on the bikini and the beard. And so I made some flyers and started hitting the streets, going into salons and barber shops. And it was very intimidating. Just a woman walking into a barber shop, everybody looks at you. But I've always been a hustler, and I felt that I had something that could really improve the quality of people's lives, and it worked. And so we started getting some business. And I think I just realized pretty quickly that I had something special on my hands, and these people owning this business, they didn't care anything about specializing in deeper skin tones. And I was like, there's really a need for a med spa that really invests in education, equipment that caters to the needs of deeper skin tones. I mean, yes, by all means, we will provide great services for those that have lighter skin, but Charlotte, which is so diverse and has a large population of deeper skin tones, could really benefit from this. So I think maybe a year after going to aesthetic school, I opened a very small med spa, bought this laser. Luckily, my family co-signed on a loan for me, which I'm always transparent about, because I think people, are always wondering, how did you get funding? And transparent. Family did co-sign on a loan for me. But from day one, I wrote these commercials to go on a local radio station about are you tired of plucking annoying chin hairs and the dark marks it leaves behind? And it was our phones just rang off the hook.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, okay. So there's so much in there that I want to unpack. I mean, okay. So starting off, I honestly, truly believe, especially listening to every woman that has come on and shared their story on this podcast, that our pain births our purpose. we go through these things and it gives us the passion to help other people so they don't have to go through it. So when you talked about having the mole and how it made you feel and, you wanting to get into that industry, the aesthetics and cosmetics industry, and then having to deal with the experience of the failed laser surgery. Now, I'm not like, I can say from my own experience, it wasn't on my face, but I also had some precancerous issues and had failed laser surgery. So I know, like, you were telling your story and I was like, I feel you, girl. I feel you. Like, and that's the importance of our stories, that we can connect through each other's stories so deeply. But just hearing how even your belief in visioneering exercises, the vision boards, like being very strong about what you see visually. I think a lot of people underestimate the importance of those things because naturally as people, we think in pictures. So if I were to ask you right now, what does your car look like? You could describe it to me. What does your fridge look like? You could describe it to me. And oftentimes, if we don't know what we want for ourselves, if we are not able to describe it, then how are we supposed to manifest that? Like, we need to be able to see it, visually. For the faith-based people, you need to be able to see it in the spirit before, it happens in the natural. So the fact that you said you had like the colors written down, the things that were on your vision board, and then that came to life, like I love all of that. And when you spoke about being in aesthetics and realizing very quickly how the skincare industry didn't necessarily have as much resources as it had for the lighter skin tones. So I also, years ago, I went to college for aesthetics and spa management and realized the very first day in makeup class where they had given us all these different colors of foundation, and one was for darker skin tones, and it was super dark. It's super dark and had orange undertone, and it didn't go with myself or the other two women of color in the class. And the things that we had to do to even be able to pass that class with the tools that were given to us. So I love the fact that, those things, you were passionate enough about them to take your own stance and start to educate yourself on darker skin tones and how you could help, like you said, the people that you love, your family and friends, because we have skin issues, just like everybody else. You know what I mean? We have things, we have needs, but the industry wasn't recognizing it, especially, back then, I'm going to say, as much as it is today. So thank you for being that leader to step up and say, something needs to be done here, and I'm going to be the one to do it. Because oftentimes people will see something and just say, well, I'll leave that for somebody else to do, or, that looks like too much work, or, whatever it is. But you weren't passive about it. You took action. So thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. I mean, even when you talk about building a business in a particular niche, you mentioned before where, some people may have looked at the fact that you were a non-Black woman, but you were creating products for the darker skin tones, and how business actually took off for you because you picked a niche. You found a problem and you provided a solution. Most people, will get into being an entrepreneur or wanting to do something and not realize it's about providing solutions. And you found a market that was not being served, and you made it your passion to serve them. And that is why you're being blessed in the way that you are, and your business taking off and doing so great.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it has been an interesting journey at times with me not being a woman of color. It is hard for some people that, my business is not Black owned, and, we 100% stand as a company for investing in Black-owned businesses, and why it is so important for Black and non-Black people to invest in Black-owned businesses. But I also want, allies to be embraced. Allyship is extremely important to fix, a lot of these terrible disparities and, issues with systemic racism. So, all I can say is, I think that if everybody sat back when a problem didn't affect them and was like, you know, this doesn't affect me, so I'm not going to worry about it, we wouldn't fix, you know, what's going on in this world. And so oftentimes, unfortunately, I get a lot of questions like, you know, like trolls on Instagram, and I try to get over it. That really will bring me negativity about that. And I'm just like, you know, please learn about my story. Please learn about my journey. Because I never started this business to get to where I am today. It was truly with a mission to change the individual client's skin that was laying in front of me in a bed. And I think that what made me successful was I was so passionate about solving this problem rather than just becoming a millionaire. And I think that that's where so many entrepreneurs do go wrong. Is it's more about being that CEO, being that boss, being that I want to see a brand of mine in Target, rather than concentrating on the passion of a problem and a solution.
So, you know, how has your journey been like since the pandemic, both the health pandemic and the racial pandemic? Like, has it affected your business and how you serve?
Yeah, for sure. You know, I would be I'd be lying if it didn't, if I said it didn't. Yeah, definitely this year has been difficult for me in some ways. It's been exciting in so many ways because of, you know, all of the, you know, my values of what myself and my company stands for is about inclusion and equal rights and opportunity and diversity within the workplace and, you know, in the skincare industry. But I've dealt with a lot of negativity and questioning of, like, you know, my motives, or, you know, and it tends to come from people who don't take the time to learn about the history of Urban Skin RX and my journey. But to me, it's like being called a pedophile. Like, there's nothing worse than being told like you're a culture vulture or a racist, or, I mean, that's like goes against everything I stand for. So I would be lying if I said that hasn't been trying and hurtful at times. Yes.
So how do you stay motivated? Like, how do you get back up when you have to deal with stuff like that?
I mean, I surround myself with loving people. I mean, I have over 50 employees and they know what we stand for. They know when you have over 50 employees, you know, especially in the age of social media, you can't be smoke and mirrors anymore. Like, if you're out there just like preaching you're all about one thing, but internally you're not, it's going to leak, you know? And so I think having those people that, you know, they'll see me on lives, and some lives will be worse than others, where people just, for some reason, just randomly, it will be like so much negativity about like the color of my skin, you know, as it relates to the owning of the company. And they'll send me kind messages, or like my family, or just me being like, you know, with greatness comes, you know, drama and negativity. And that's just what it is. And I've dealt with negativity from all different races my whole life, whether or not, you know, it's bullying for the way I looked, or it's, you know, it's just, I just have to pick myself up. I think, who was it? Jeff
Bezos?
Bezos, yeah, he had put out this comment not that long ago. You might not have seen it, but it was like during Clubhouse, somebody asked him, like, what words of encouragement would you give an upcoming, you know, entrepreneur? And he said, like, if you need words of encouragement, you shouldn't be an entrepreneur. And it was like, it's just so true. Like, you got to boss up, you know, and talk yourself through it. And overall, my company's doing great. I have so many amazing fans, glow getters, people that love the company. And so, like, shame on me if I let this, like, you know, this smaller number of like haters and negativity, like, keep me from doing God's work and what he's doing through me, as you know. So,
Yeah.
But I'm human, and of course it hurts. And it's like a subject that's like goes against everything that I stand for. And the times that like I had no money and was just like working my ass off, you know, I'm like, you don't know what I've been through to make this happen. And it wasn't for the money.
Yeah, I feel like with, trolls on social media, especially in this day and age, everyone can create false accounts with no face and, go off on people. But I honestly believe like ignorance is lack of knowledge, and not just lack of knowledge about your company, but often a lot of people have a lot of lack of knowledge about themselves, and they project that onto other people. So that negativity, it's not even necessarily like about you. It's about them, things that they need to deal with. But at the end of the day, you got to continue to do what you're doing in terms of inspiring and providing solutions. So what inspires you the most about what you do?
Really making changes in individuals' lives. Like, I am somebody who suffers severely from self-image issues, confidence issues about the way I look, especially with my skin. I still struggle with a lot of skin issues. And just knowing how when I feel good about my appearance, it just makes me have a better quality of life, whether or not it's holding my head up higher in a meeting to, demand and get what I deserve, or, just anything. It's just like, and so to be in a position now where I can do that globally and for the masses really makes me feel like I'm going to leave this world with a legacy of, maybe a single mom who was always irritated with her kids because she was stretched too thin. And on top of it, she felt super ugly about her skin. And maybe by me making her feel better about her parents, she was a little bit kinder to her children, a little bit more, patient. And how did that affect their lives by having a more patient mother? Like, it just, I really do feel like in this somewhat vain way, I'm making the world a better place.
You know what? I goosebumps when you said that. I don't believe it's in a vain way. I believe, and maybe because that my background in aesthetics as well, and then you throw in like, my mindset education. We have two images of ourselves when you talk about self-image. We have the image on the inside and we have the image on the outside. The one on the outside is how we look, how we do our hair, how we walk, how we talk. Yes, that affects how we interact with other people, because if we don't look good, if you don't feel like you look good, then it comes across in everything else that you do. And then we have our inner self-image of how we really see ourselves, that affects our self-confidence and affects the opportunities that we go after and the relationships that we have with other people. And there was a study done, I think it was Dr. Maxwell Maltz or something his name is, and he had done a study, and it was doing facial surgery, like removing moles from people's faces and things like that, and studying how they, like the confidence that they showed before and after. And there are people who literally on the outside, there may be parts of themselves that they are not comfortable with, or, not confident about. And for the things that you do and the services that you provide, whether it be acne, whether it be dark spots, whatever it is, to make them feel more confident, to make them feel more comfortable in their skin, so that they can, go out there and go after the opportunities that they deserve, and go out there and feel confident in the relationships that they want to be in. So I think maybe we've been programmed as a society to look at things like skincare as superficial, but not digging deeper to realize how that affects us on a deeper level.
I agree.
So what advice would you give to a woman listening right now who is second guessing starting a business?
I actually don't think second guessing it is a horrible thing, because I believe in going over, if you don't go into something with worst case scenario in mind. I mean, some people would say I'm a bit of a pessimist. I think that pessimism prepares you, and me always having a plan for worst case scenario has gotten me, to where I am today, because being an entrepreneur is all about pivoting. It's all about, being able to get over every hurdle. So I would say if you're second guessing it, it's because you're thinking of something that could possibly keep you from being successful, and you need to have a plan as for how that won't get in your way, whether or not it's childcare, it's funding, it's a marketing plan, it's competitors, like, so you need to have a plan for all of those things. And anybody who says that you don't is living in a dream world. And there's not a lot of people there's a lot of failure with entrepreneurship. And it takes somebody that has extreme determination and has a solution for every problem. So I would get through those, and it's probably not the answer you're looking for, but I would write down those second guessing and see if you can come up with a plan for them.
No, I think that's a great idea. I mean, I'm one of those crazy people that when I jumped into entrepreneurship, I jumped in as a single mom going through a divorce and I jumped in head first. I did not have a plan B, but I don't advise that to anybody. So, you telling them to write down the things that they are second guessing so that they can come up with solutions before that happens. I think that's great advice.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's like, well, I can only work on my business at nighttime because I have another company, I have a real job, and I have kids I have to take care of. Well, that's going to get me down to only 5 hours of sleep. What can I do to make up for that 5 hours? Is there another time that I can take a power nap? Or how can I change my eating habits so I'm eating enough, energizing food that it can counteract what this is going to do to my body and mind? You really, I believe in, having as many plans as possible. And of course, you're never going to know what's going to happen. But I do think thinking through how to make things happen, having business plans that are realistic are very important. I created a business plan when I went to the bank for the loan. And, regardless if I had a co-signer, I still had to get approval for my business loan based on a business plan. And there was 3 scenarios that I did with a bookkeeper, which was financials of me blowing out the water, me doing average, and me doing way under average. Rather than seeing, 5 patients a day within a month, how do my financials look if I'm only seeing 2 patients a day the first month? And I think if you can make it under the worst case scenario, then maybe you have a financially sustainable plan.
I love it. I love it. Giving options. Mm-hmm. So tell us, Rachel, what is one thing that most people don't know about you?
I'm super scared of flying. I'm not a good flyer.
I feel you.
I'm a terrible flyer, and I get really petrified doing speeches. I'm good with fire chats. I'm good with question answer, but you have me do a speech. You know how people can go present. I will panic so bad to the point that my body will tighten so much and I will sweat so much that the next day I will feel like I've gone through a car accident. My muscles hurt so bad.
I completely resonate with you 1000%. And, and here's the thing. I think sometimes we have these experiences and we think that we're alone. And the more that we are open and transparent about them, we realize that there's a whole community of people that can completely resonate. I can tell you, I talk about this all the time, that I also have a huge fear of flying, but I always wanted to see different parts of the world. And growing up, my mother would put me on a plane to go to Jamaica by myself to go spend some time with my father. So that was about a 4-hour flight. So on the flight, I am all, they have to give me the vomit bag. They have to get, I was a hot mess every single time. And as I got older, I would just avoid any trips to anywhere that was over 4 hours. And then when I started working through, I'm going to say, pushing past my limits and getting really uncomfortable so that I could grow, I started booking flights to other places around the world. And when my book came out and I started being invited to speak in different places, I was terrified. I was terrified of the flight, and I was terrified of the fact that they wanted me to speak. And my anxiety would go through the roof. And I don't know if you know what fibromyalgia is, but I was diagnosed with that in 2006, and it's triggered by stress. So if I had to fly, the stress levels in my body, my anxiety would be so high and my muscles would tensen up so tight that it would feel like, when someone goes to the gym and does like, I don't know, if they do leg day, the next day their legs are sore and, the soft muscle tissue, that was my entire body. So every speaking opportunity, every time I had to fly, I literally shut down. So I feel you 1,000%. You're not alone.
Well, yeah, no, it's something where I want so bad to be, I don't want to be a unhealthy person. I don't want to let unreasonable fears hold me back from living my best life. So I force myself to do it, but it's not very graceful. I drink a lot of Jack Daniels when I fly.
Listen, sometimes we got to do what we got to do.
I try to hide it from my daughter too, because I don't want her to learn my unreasonable fears. And so she just like associates me as like drinking on airplanes, like, oh, you're going to have your Jack Daniels, like, it's like this pastime. And I'm like, well, I guess it's better to think I like to have fun on the airplane rather than like I'm totally scared of dying.
Listen, I feel you. I feel you, girl. I think at the end of the day, we all have different coping mechanisms on, how we are able to overcome certain things. But I've realized that everything that I've ever wanted is on the other side of what I feared. So it's working through things in whatever way I can, whether it be getting help or, putting other things in place to make sure that I can do that and experience that. Because if I, had kept up with my fear of not even wanting to go on flights over 4 hours, I wouldn't have been able to see parts of the world. I wouldn't have been able to have those experiences. So for you, like, I mean, whatever route you choose to go, but in terms of like being transparent with your daughter, even if you don't want her to have those same fears, because maybe she doesn't have any fears of flying. You guys have been on flights together. So just being open with her, like, you know what, I'm actually a little scared. You never know what may come from that.
I'll keep that in mind. I just, I've tried so much as a mother to give her this perfect life. I had a lot of dysfunctions in my upbringing that led me just to be a pretty unhealthy person for a long time. And I have to be careful to not like skew the whole other way and paint life perfect picture and not give her the skills that she needs to navigate the difficulties of this effed up world we're living in. So it's totally like I have to work on that, because for years she's never seen me cry. She'd never seen me in a relationship for 7 years, because I didn't trust myself in a relationship around her. And just kind of painting this like her father, he is a pretty disappointing person and really doesn't always lead the best life. And for so long, I painted him very differently to her, made so many excuses for him because I didn't want this young child, like, just having worries. Like, I'm like, she's 6, she's 7, she's 8. She doesn't need to be stressed and worried about, the life her father's living, but at some point, I started to realize that I was doing her an injustice by almost, by creating what's going to eventually be a bigger disappointment when she figures out what the real deal is.
This false perception.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel you. I had, I'm going to say a similar experience as well. So I get you. There's no judgment here whatsoever. I get it. Been there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want you to tell the people where they could stay connected with you online before we go to the final segment of the show.
Yeah. You can follow me on Instagram at Urban Skin Founder. You can, even more importantly, follow my business on Instagram at Urban Skin RX, and you can go to www.urbanskinrx.com to purchase our products, or any Ulta or Target store nationwide, Walmart, CVS, and we got some more exciting retailers coming pretty soon.
Awesome. Awesome. So I will definitely have the direct links in the detailed section right below your episode so they can find you and they don't have to search too far.
Well, I appreciate that.
No problem. So the final segment of the show is kind of like a rapid fire. It's just a couple of quick reflection questions, and you say the first thing that comes to mind, whether that be one word or one sentence. So name a book that has changed or greatly impacted your life.
George Floyd.
Name one of the most worthwhile investments that you've ever made. And that can be an investment of time, money, energy.
Personal assistant.
Name a new belief, behavior, or habit that has improved your life in the last 5 years.
Stretching.
What impact do you want to have on the world?
Confidence.
What have you become better at saying no to in the last 5 years? And that could be distractions, invitations, family.
Going out for drinks.
And last but not least, what do you wish women would do more of?
Compliment themselves.
Love it. Love it. And on that note, Rachel, I want to thank you for taking the time to join us and for sharing your story with us. I truly, truly appreciate you.
All right. Well, I appreciate you so much. And, please be in touch. And it was a nice break for my day.
I will definitely be in touch because I am about to use your products. So I will let you know how much I love them.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Enjoy the rest of your day. And to all you legacy leavers out there, until next time, subscribe on all platforms and don't forget to rate the show and leave us a review on Apple Podcast. I want to thank every single one of you who downloads the show and listens to the show to help us, because we now rank in the top 2% of the most popular shows globally out of all podcasts, and that's millions. So thank you. And if you want to join the community of legacy leavers and sign up for our weekly newsletter, you can do so at awalkinmystilettos.com. And be sure to grab one of my personal development books available online everywhere. And if you could think of one person that would receive value from hearing Rachel's story, please share it with them. Feel free to screenshot this week's episode and tag us on Instagram so we can share. You can tag myself at @TheRealMcKinney-Smith, and you can tag Rachel at Urban Skin Founder or Urban Skin RX. Until next time, continue to walk in your greatness in a manner worthy of your calling.